Welcome to the 700 Club. Whiplash. That's what many Virginians are feeling after the staggering changes that the legislature is pushing to turn the state's laws blue.
In just a matter of weeks, the Old Dominion has morphed into a progressive model for other states. Heather Sells explains.
Democrats have control of the legislature and governor's mansion for the first time in decades, and they're wasting no time turning the Commonwealth's laws blue.
I've been in academia, for 30 years or so, and it's been trickle, trickle, trickle. But boy, lately it's just been coming at us full speed.
One of the first moves, ratifying the Equal Rights Amendment. The deadline passed decades ago, but now the Virginia Attorney General and 2 other states are suing to have it added to the Constitution. That was followed by gun restrictions many thought impossible in Virginia, and new protections for LGBTQ people. It's astounding considering where the state was just 1 year ago. Virginia and the nation was shocked after this exchange that revealed a Democratic push to allow abortion up until the moment of birth.
Where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth, she has physical signs that she is about to give a birth. Would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified? She's dilating.
My bill would allow that, yes.
The measure failed, but this is a new year. Now Democrats are eagerly rolling back laws intended to reduce abortions, like the 24-hour waiting period, a required ultrasound before an abortion so a woman can see her child, and information about alternatives, including how to get assistance for prenatal care.
We are discussing repealing provisions that have been added on over the past 20 years that shame women, that impair their ability to make their own decisions.
Republicans argue taking away these tools put women back in the dark.
Instead of informing and educating women, we're telling them for 24 hours, you don't need to know the information in that ultrasound. Make a decision without having all of the facts. I thought we were about empowering women.
Soon, nurse practitioners and physicians' assistants will be allowed to perform abortions. While many Virginians are surprised at the speedy changes, it's exactly what Democrats seeking control promised.
If we have the majority, the work of a lifetime is the work of 2 afternoons.
Governor Ralph Northam, a Democrat who is a pediatric neurologist by trade, is expected to sign the new abortion policy into law, along with other new liberal policies passed by the legislature. Heather Sells, CBN News.
We shouldn't be surprised by this. This is the result of the polarization of the parties. And so you have dedicated ideologues who are running the show on both sides. So when you achieve these kinds of majority, when you have the governor, the Senate, and the House of Delegates all lined up, then the activists are going to demand results and going to demand them within 2 afternoons. And so you're going to see radical change in the laws, and the pendulum is going to swing to the left. When that turns again, and we're pretty sure it's going to turn again, when does the pendulum swing back? The problem is you can't figure out what the laws are. And when you have these radical changes, and radical changes that erase, decades of legislation, and it happens in 2 afternoons, the citizens are left wondering what just happened to me. But that's where we are. It's completely polarized. Now imagine this on a national basis, and what's going to happen at the end of the election that we're all getting ready to vote in. And are we going to see increasing polarization, and what's going to be the result of that? Well, stay tuned. We're in for some pendulum swings. In other news, the Senate impeachment trial of President Trump could soon be over. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That's right, Gordon. A key Republican Senator, Lamar Alexander of Tennessee, says he will vote against calling more witnesses in the trial. Alexander says the president's actions concerning Ukraine, although inappropriate, don't meet the Constitution's high bar for an impeachable offense. Maine Senator Susan Collins and Utah's Mitt Romney do favor witnesses, but Senate Democrats still will need 2 more Republicans to vote with them for witnesses to testify. If that fails, a vote to acquit the president could happen as soon as late tonight or tomorrow. And you can see full coverage of the Senate impeachment trial live on the CBN News Channel and follow it on the CBN News app. Well, meanwhile, President Trump blasted the Democrats' impeachment efforts last night at a rally in Iowa.
But the Democrats are trying to overturn the last election. We will make sure that they face another crushing defeat.
The president also attacked the, quote, radical socialist candidates running against him. And many Democratic strategists and some party politicians are concerned about the rise of self-proclaimed socialist Bernie Sanders in the polls in Iowa and other key states. They worry Sanders might win early races and capture the Democratic nomination, but then lose the general election to the president. Well, the State Department is telling Americans not to travel to China as the number of cases of the coronavirus continue to explode, jumping more than tenfold in a week, and where the death toll is now over 200 and climbing. The State Department also told Americans currently in China to consider leaving. The virus has infected nearly 10,000 people worldwide in just 2 months. One reason why the World Health Organization declared the outbreak a global emergency. That came as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed Thursday the first person-to-person transmission of the virus here in the United States from a Chicago woman to her husband. Well, President Trump's so-called deal of the century Middle East peace plan unveiled this week at the White House is getting praise from Israelis and expected condemnation from Palestinians. Chris Mitchell brings us that story from Jerusalem.
Hundreds of Palestinians protested this week in the Jordan Valley, an area the peace plan allows Israel to annex. For Israelis, this region provides a vital strategic buffer, protecting their eastern border. Palestinians also rioted in Bethlehem, but if you're Palestinian and like the deal, you might want to keep it to yourself. Fatah, the political arm of the Palestinian Authority, posted this Hamas song on its Facebook page. It threatens violence to anyone who supports the deal. The word from Palestinian leaders in Ramallah or the UN is resistance.
We have fully agreed to start a plan to confront this scheme, the scheme of Trump and Netanyahu, which aims to end the entire Palestinian national cause.
In an exclusive interview with CBN's David Brody, U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman explained the plan hopes to bypass a corrupt Palestinian leadership.
Their business plan is to continue to foment this hatred. But the people within the territories, they are suffering. And they do have the internet. And when the Bahrain peace plan came out, the economic part of the peace plan, there were over 1 million hits within the Palestinian communities. I think we'll have even more here. We're translating it into Arabic. They can read it. They can understand the future this presents for them.
The plan supports a Palestinian state. Some Jewish leaders in Judea and Samaria remain opposed to that idea, but others found positive aspects in the plan.
President Trump recognizes that Israel will have a right forever and to annex areas like Hebron and Shiloh. He recognized them not only as vital to Israeli security, but as vital to our national and biblical heritage.
One key reaction came from the Sunni Islamic Arab nations of the region. Middle East expert Joel Rosenberg has met many of their leaders.
They see it as positive. They were applauding President Trump. They weren't condemning. They weren't throwing up their hands and saying this is ridiculous. And they were urging the Palestinian leadership to come back to the table and take this plan seriously and negotiate.
These Arab nations and the Trump administration see the deal of the century as an opportunity for the Palestinians. The late Israeli diplomat Abba Eban once said, "The Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity." Many hope they don't miss this one. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Gordon, do you think those Arab neighbors can influence the Palestinians?
Not at all. They are going to miss an opportunity as they have for now over 70 years. They've had the opportunity to form their own state, and every time they are presented with that opportunity, they refuse because on an ideological basis, they want to drive Israel into the sea, and they've said repeatedly, the Jews don't belong here. and we want to go all the way to Jaffa, and we want to retake it all. And so that means wiping out Tel Aviv. For a Palestinian leader to enter a peace deal and recognize Israel, and then recognize and form a Palestinian state, and then say, we want a secure and lasting peace. If they were ever to do that, they would be killed. That's the bottom line. Look at Anwar Sadat. He got a peace deal with Israel. The Muslim Brotherhood executed him and did so very publicly to send a message. When the king of Jordan got a peace deal with Israel back in 1948, he signed a peace deal. He was executed publicly at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. So that's what everyone needs to wake up to. They can't come to peace because their ideology says you can't. What I fear is what happens when the Jordanian kingdom, if that ever goes away, what's the government that's going to be elected? It will most likely be run by Hamas. And at that point in time, you have the resources of the entire state of Jordan set against Israel. So peace, peace, and there is no peace. Terry?
Well, coming up,